What is good? This is the Nuchannel Sports Takedown. Back at it again. You know what it is. This is a solo with your host, Chris. So excited to be back for yet another Takedown. You know how I do this. I go straight into my Takedown, and this is another good one. I always have good ones. This is a real good one. And my takedown is real simple. It's a global takedown. In sports, we have a refereeing problem. In sports, we have a refereeing problem. Before I get down into telling you how we do have a refereeing problem, I want to tell you about Nuchannel Sports. You can check out our podcasts wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we are there. You can check us out on our website, Nuchannel Sports, that's spelled nuchannelsports.net. And if you want to see our beautiful faces, you can do that as well. You can catch our beautiful faces on Afro Vibes TV. And catch us on there. You can see our beautiful faces. We do wonderful shows on Afro Vibes, and I know that you will love our shows on there. Let's get into this takedown. We have a problem in sports, man. I've been watching sports because this is a great time for sports. If you don't know, there's so many things going on, both on the state side and globally, and we have a refereeing problem. Let's go to game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, the Clippers versus the Suns. Yeah, I know Paul George missed 2 free throws, but he played great before he missed those free throws. And DeAndre Ayton had a very cool game-winning dunk. But that game was all about the stoppages. In the NBA, the coaches get one coaching challenge throughout the game, which most coaches are wisely using. Unless your superstar is in trouble early, you want to save it till later in the game, but don't wait until the last 2 minutes, because at that point you don't need a challenge. You really don't need a challenge unless there's a foul. So what's the point? The challenge rule is fine. I have really no problem with the challenge rule, but once we get to the last 2 minutes of the game, where most NBA games that are close actually come down to, it seems like every dead ball situation, we're having to stop for a replay. Most referees, you can tell, don't want to actually use it on every stop. But because it's there and you see the players doing the one thing that I now cannot stand, the finger wagging, circling of the finger, go review it. And what that does is it takes away from the momentum of the game. When a game is coming down the line, was it a 2-pointer? Was it a 3-pointer? Let's go check, even though Kevin Durant's foot was all over the line. If the ball's kicked out of bounds or really placed out of bounds by a defender, let's go check it. Let's go frame by frame to see who hit the ball out. Yes, we want to get it right, but perhaps maybe this takedown needs a shift, and instead of just saying we have a refereeing problem, we may have a get it right problem. And this is the key. Yes, we want to get it right. In the NBA game that I referenced earlier with the Suns versus the Clippers, yes, we want to get it right. But what happens is, in an effort to get it right, on some plays that I believe are obvious, what's happening is we're giving coaches that do not have a timeout an opportunity to rest, take a break, and get a timeout. I'm not trying to take anything against certain players from playing the full game, but there's so many stoppages in play now that it's impressive, but it's not impossible. Look how many stoppages we saw in the last 2 minutes of the Suns versus the Clippers. Patrick Beverley's play when he hit the ball out was being reviewed. And that took a very long time to review. And then the pass where the Suns they had some time to make a play and the ball went out of bounds. And before the final play of the game where Ayton had the game winner, they went to review that. It seems as if every single play is reviewed. And now there's no such thing as a walk off the court game winner and then like that, because we got to review it. We got to review everything. It ruins the emotions of the game. So there's a fine line between getting it right and ruining the flow of the game. And the NBA is really flirting with that problem, because we've seen at the end of games stoppage after stoppage after stoppage. It's reminding me of college basketball, to be honest with you. Anybody who loves college basketball knows that college basketball seems to have stoppages in every 5 seconds towards the end of the game. It's one thing or another. The teams get so many timeouts. There's always one thing or another why there's a major stoppage in college basketball, and it ruins the flow of games. Even in March Madness, we do get great game winners, but it ruins the flow. And that's seeping into the NBA, which is a problem. It's just not interesting. It's not interesting when you see a stoppage of play every 5 seconds, every possession, and crunch time. You want to see that flow. You want to see that flow because the teams already have timeouts. So we have timeouts. We have stoppages of play for reviews that most of the time are senseless. You can see immediately whose ball it is. So the NBA has a problem. But it's not just the NBA. It's definitely not just the NBA. And that's, for me, it's a global thing. It's a global thing. Let's go to the sport of the NFL, right? NFL. The NFL flirted with 1 year with the passing interference rule. Y'all remember that? When the NFL tried to pass an interference rule and all the fans were looking like, yo, they had a real bad call versus the Saints, but this ain't going to be good. And it wasn't. The NFL got rid of the passing interference rule. But this is one of the rare times where I will actually salute football in the NFL. And maybe it's not even so much the NFL, it's college football. I'll salute them. Because if you watch college football, what they have is they have a person, a team, whatever you want to call it, who reviews every play. And for the most part, the referees just buzz down to, hey, y'all made a mistake, change it here. If there's a review, they've kind of expedited this process. I said the NFL, but let me go with college football first. College football, they've expedited the process. There's a buzz down. They already reviewed the play, and they're really telling the head referee what they need to do. And I believe the NBA really needs to implement this. It needs to be much quicker because we're ruining the flow of games. Going back to the NFL, the last 2 minutes of the game, the challenges come from the booth. And that does ruin the flow of the game, but not as bad as the NBA has done it. Not as bad as the NBA. Because the NFL and college football, they're working in a way where there's an immediate stoppage, but somebody else is looking at it. My issue with the NBA, my biggest issue is, why should the head referee go check a call? That's not a challenge. If it's a challenge, if a head coach is challenging a decision by an NBA referee, I get it. NBA referee wants to uphold their call, wants to look at the call, cool. But if it's an out of bounds play, why is the head referee looking at it? They have a whole team, and wherever they have them, I think it's a caucus, wherever they have them, those people should be the ones coming up with the play immediately. Once a play is over in the final 2 minutes of an NBA game, if there's an out of bounds play, it should be immediate. Immediately. Secaucus is looking at it and buzzes that NBA referee and says, yo, I want to take a look at it. It seems simple, don't it? It seems so simple. It seems so simple. But it's not. Because they're not doing it. They are not doing it. So this is one of the rare occasions where the NFL is doing better than the NBA. It comes down to the reviewing and the last 2 minutes. But I'm not necessarily giving the NFL an A. I'm just giving them a B. They're average. They're doing what makes sense. Somebody should buzz down. Somebody should already be looking at the play, and let's expedite the process. Because we have a fine line in sports versus getting it right versus wasting time and ruining the flow and momentum of a game. That's what the issue is. That's the biggest difference. Momentum in a game versus getting it right. I love soccer, football. This is, football. A little more international love. Got to do it, man. I love international football. Right now, I did a takedown on it. Go check out my takedown on the Euro 2020s. My takedown so far is fire. To be honest with you, all the teams I said are my top 5. They're doing pretty good. But, that's another self-plug. I have no problem with self-promotion on here. I have no problem with self-promotion. All right? I got no problem with that. If you have a problem with it, that's something you got to deal with. I have no problem plugging my own YouTube videos. Check out the Euro 2020. But what we have a problem with football is the VAR. Virtual assistant referee. We have a problem with it. And it's probably the most rampant in soccer. And it's ruining the beautiful game. If any of you watched 1 minute of a goal in the Euro 2020, what you will find is most of the goals, there's not the celebrations that you come to know and love in soccer. Soccer is like this. If you're not a big soccer fan, some people say, so you can watch an entire match, an entire 90 minutes of a match, and nobody scores a goal? How is that possible? The Americans, because Americans, we want to see some type of celebration every 5 seconds. Somebody's got to be flipping. We have to see a celebration very often. But there is a certain payoff in football. Soccer. I'll call it soccer because I talk about the NFL here. There is a certain payoff in soccer when a goal is scored. There's the adulation of not just the team or the player, also the nation as well. And what we've seen in these Euros is with the VAR, that's largely been taken away, because after every goal, there's a second of thought. Like, well, did I actually score it? Is the referee's assistant's flag going to be up? Or even if his flag is not up, I can't really celebrate it until VAR does its check. And it's annoying. It's very annoying because you can't celebrate with your team. Everything seems like a premature celebration. And what happens is, for example, I've seen a couple games where the goal is scored, referee calls offside, VAR checks it, and it's not offsides, or vice versa. Goal is scored, no offside is called by the referee on the pitch, VAR says it's offside. It just ruins the game. Even with the broadcasters, they say, oh, what a goal, but we got to check VAR. So there's not that excitement. There is a clip online with Andreas Cantor. All right. He has one of the most emotional clips I've ever seen in my life. When it was, I believe it was a 2010 World Cup. I believe it was 2010 in South Africa. The United States was in a group with, I believe it was England, Algeria, and maybe Slovakia or Slovenia, one of them countries, right? And it was the last game and really the last second of the third match in the group stage where the United States was playing Algeria. And Donovan scored, Landon Donovan, Captain America, scored an amazing last second goal, and Andreas Cantor is going buck. He's basically crying, right?
Se lo perdió Raifi y ahora de contragolpe Donovan, se le va larga Donovan, la quiere por derecha Altinor, al área viene, y cita por arquero, Donovan, gol, gol.
In the advent of VAR, that call doesn't happen because you're looking back saying, well, was somebody offsides along the buildup? Was there a handball somewhere? Was there something going on that's going to cause our celebrations to no longer be valid? And that is what kills the beautiful game. It kills the game. It kills the beautiful game. And it's getting on my nerves. So we have this fine line of, so you may be watching the games and saying, but Chris, the virtual assistant referees are getting it right. What are you complaining about? And the complaint is, that's my grouch, right? If you listen to my takedowns, you know my grouch voice is, hey, what are you doing? What are you guys doing over there? That's my grouch voice. But I cannot stand watching something and not being able to celebrate while the celebration makes sense. It's one thing to celebrate once a goal is scored. It's an entirely different thing where 3-4 minutes have passed after the goal was scored and then it's finally confirmed that the goal is valid. There's really not a lot of celebration left. You can cheer and be happy about it, but that moment of ecstasy where it's sheer pandemonium. You didn't see the goal come in. It comes, it's wild. Everybody's celebrating. That's being taken away from the beautiful game. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. And I believe that's what's hurting everything. So then the question then is, for soccer, for the NFL, for NBA, what's the balance? Because there clearly is a balance, and I've talked about it, right? I don't like giving takedowns without giving solutions. So there's a balance between getting it right versus keeping the integrity and the flow of the game going. I know a sport that we rarely talk about on Nuchannel Sports, but I'm talking about it here on this takedown, and it's baseball, where they're going in this refereeing virtual assistant type of deal. We want to get every single call right aspect. I believe that umpires will still be around forever. They'll still be around. But they're going to be, we don't call it VAP, virtual assistant umpires, and maybe VAU, virtual assistant umpires, where every single strike call is going to be looked at. Every single ball is going to be looked at. You can just see it coming because we're in this. Man, I'm about to get political for a second. It's, man, everything is kind of, we got to get it right. We got to get it right. We got to get it right. And it comes to, you're right. We do got to get it right. But if it comes and it sacrifices the integrity of the game, can you imagine watching a baseball game where every single call, every single ball that is thrown says, well, that was a little bit outside the zone. So actually, even though the umpire kind of created a zone during this game and all the players understand it, for the purposes of that pitch, it was actually outside of the zone. So it's a ball, not a strikeout. It would be maddening. It'd be insane. But that's exactly what we've done with football, with soccer. We've done that with soccer. So, all right, I promise you a solution. This is a solution. We only change egregious errors. That's what it should be. And we leave up the, call it human error, right? Because there's some things that's just like, that's human error. That's okay. Going back to game 2 of the NBA Western Conference Finals, Patrick Beverley hits the ball out of, I believe it was Booker's hand. Everybody watching it was out on Patrick Beverley, but by frame, it was out on Devin Booker. I'm cool with them saying, it's actually Clippers ball in that play because it's not an egregious error. It's not egregious. I'm okay with that. I only want to see egregious errors fixed. Everything else, leave it alone. Because when you leave it alone, the flow of the game stays good. You may disagree with me, and that's okay. And the real question I'm asking you, the listener, is, are you okay with the small errors like I am, or do you think I'm crazy? Do you want to see everything right? But just keep in mind, when you see everything right, you risk the flow of the game. And when you risk the flow of the game, what's the point of watching? If there's no anticipation of excitement, if there's no jubilation when something incredible happens, if there's no, can you believe what we just saw? Then what's the point of sport? What's the point of sports? Seriously. If there's no adulation, if there's no excitement after a big goal being scored in the Euros to win the game, then what's the point? Why are we even doing this? So it all boils down to this. In sports, we have a refereeing problem. And it's a problem that every single major sport needs to address before it gets out of hand. It's really that simple. And my solution is even more simple. We get rid of egregious errors. We get rid of those. I'm fine with taking stops for egregious errors. But for everything else, let's continue to keep the consistency and the game flow that's going on so that we can celebrate awesome goals. So that game winners in the NBA are not based off of teams no longer having a timeout. And do they have a timeout? They get extra time to draw up a play. Let's keep it clean and let's keep the game flow going. And if there's an egregious error, we can always go back and fix that. That's my takedown. Let's stop this because I love watching sports in its purest form. And that means not that many stoppages of play. The stoppages of play in every sport has gotten out of hand. Thank you so much for listening to this takedown. I really do appreciate you. You know why we do this. We do it for you. We do it for you. Thank you so much for listening. As you know, you can always check out our podcast, nuchannelsports.net. That's the website where you can check out the podcast or wherever you listen to your podcast. Podbean, Stitcher, Apple, wherever you listen to it, whenever you listen to it, we are there. Please like and subscribe to this channel, like this video, smash that notification bell, help us out, support our channel. We will continue doing great things and putting out great content. You can check us out on Instagram as well or on our Twitter page. We're always posting something or tweeting about something. You can always follow us. Feel free to chit chat with us, leave a comment here on this video, or even leave a comment on our Instagram or Twitter pages. There's also Afro Vibes TV. Afro Vibes Entertainment is just awesome. It's an awesome platform for music and sports, and we are on there on that awesome platform. You can see our beautiful faces each and every single week on demand. You can download Afro Vibes TV app on Roku or your Amazon Fire Stick. We are everywhere. We're doing it big. You know how I always end these videos. Thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, y'all. Please stay safe. Peace.